Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my review of the 1989 comedy sequel, Police Academy 6, City Under Siege. Now, this is, in my opinion, a franchise that has clearly run past its expiration date. Things are starting to get curdled here. Things are starting to get moldy and stale. This was already the case with the fifth film, but now it's even more so with City Under Siege. I don't mind some aspects of this movie, and that's why in some ways it is a little bit better than part 5. But if you look at it as a whole, it's still just as lame and forgettable as Assignment Miami Beach. It's directed by a guy named Peter Bonerz, and I think for the most part his direction is one big boner and not the good kind. It's a movie that just looks every bit like a TV sitcom and has the same level of direction and flair visually as just an average forgettable episode of a forgettable sitcom show. Any energy that is really brought to the film is not necessarily due to the direction. It's due to the stunt work during the chase scenes, or it's due to the performers on screen, like Michael Winslow, Gerrit, David Graf, and so on. And it's a film that it just looks tired, just like most of the gags. Most of the gags and most of the jokes in this are played out and tired and have run their course, and that's how the film looks too. It's just a film that barely constitutes as a feature film, looks every bit like a TV movie like the previous installment, and the direction, I'm not going to beat it to bits with a billy club or anything. I'm being pretty harsh on it, but to be perfectly fair, it's just there. It's just adequate, average, run of the mill, so. But at this point, with the sixth installment in the series, it's particularly frustrating because this is the point where you should be doing something different. This is the point where you should be doing new things and getting directors from outside of the TV realm, or get directors from the TV realm who are younger and are more in tune with some more unique kind of camera work and just want to get their foot in the door and are willing to bring a certain amount of passion and energy to the project. And the fact that the producers and everyone involved with these movies just doesn't realize that and just willingly allows this franchise to just slowly just die is frustrating, because there's potential here. And I think even with this sequel, there was potential that was completely unrealized in favor of playing it safe in a multitude of different ways, not just with the direction, but also with the screenplay. The script by Stephen Kerwick. I don't mind the idea of this mysterious figure named Mr. Big, who's behind all of these robberies and these crime sprees throughout this city, and the police academy grads having to stop him, and also having to work with Officer Harris and Proctor and trying to help them save their precinct. I don't mind that idea. I think that's not that bad of a concept. It's just executed poorly. The twist and the reveal of who Mr. Big is predictable and really a letdown. Spoiler, you find out that it's the clueless mayor, and that's annoying because the mayor character is just terrible. the way that character is written, he's just unbelievably annoying and irritating, and the complete antithesis of funny. He's trying to be funny by this sort of oblivious way that he handles things. So the funny bits with the mayor is supposed to be that he's just forgetful and oblivious and a dunce. And that particular part of that character is just overdone, and it just really gets old. And then when he gets revealed as the villain, you're like, well, great. And then it's equally disappointing because the script does a bad job trying to cover that up. It becomes pretty obvious that Mr. Big is the mayor after a certain point in the film. And there's a prime opportunity to do something daring with this script and with Mr. Big, because they bring back Fackler. And Fackler to me is such a forgettable, just one note kind of character. I don't really know of anybody who is saying that Fackler is their favorite Police Academy character. So I think that they could have really leaned hard into that, into his forgettableness and how he gets passed over and how he never really gets an opportunity to shine, and have him be Mr. Big. Have him be the one that is able to actually create a match for the police academy grads. They actually meet their match because one of their own is behind all of this, because he's tired of being passed over and looked down on and treated like he's nothing, and he's tired of his wife nagging him all the time, and he's tired of not having what he wants in life, and he realizes that he can't get it in the police academy, so he becomes a criminal. He becomes a crime boss. And so the script features multiple moments where the police academy grads, they meet their match. Maybe Fackler has his own gang of misfits that have personality traits and elements about them that are similar to the other police academy grads. So it's like a bizarro police academy crew. And instead of, just the typical kind of, regular thugs or whatever, you could go that route. And I like Gerrit Graham, and I think his character is strong enough, and you could have him be the anti-Tackleberry. He kind of already is anyway, because he's just as good of a shot as Tackleberry, which is something that I did like. And there was this other martial arts guy who actually managed to defeat Jones in a fight. So you just expand upon that, and you make that the focus of the film. The city is under siege by one of their own who's turned evil and has created this group of criminal misfits that are one-upping the police academy grads at every turn. And so the stakes are higher. You add a different dynamic to the story. You make it so the police academy grads aren't necessarily winning all the time. They aren't able to just figure out the problem or solve things by their usual shenanigans. They have to think more outside the box. And this is where you would have the newer recruits take a little bit more of a center stage, because their traits and their personalities and their approach to things is not as predictable to Fackler. He doesn't know them. So that's how you can successfully pass the torch, because that's really what should be done at this point. And You can still have a lot of screen time for the original grads, but then you can bring in a whole new cast of characters again. Because just bringing in one or two just really isn't enough. And it's not enough to, bring in some fresh faces and some new energy to the series. But instead they just don't even consider doing that. Instead, the writer just does the bare minimum, if even that, and it just feels like a waste. Like you have some fun twists on things where Jones, after he gets defeated by the gang member who knows martial arts, he switches things up and acts like a robot, which you didn't see Jones do before. So that was fun. That was different. That and the stuff with Tackleberry and the leader of the gang played by Gerrit Graham, and how they're a match, and how Tackleberry will be shooting a target, and the bad guy will do just as well. Like stuff like that really adds a different sort of dynamic to things. But repeating the same stuff with Proctor and Harris, at this point it was an old hat. Just relying so much on these tired gags, and at this point these tired characters was just not something that really worked. It didn't click, and it's reflected in the box office. I think if they did do something different, if they had some new fresh faces and they did something more than just the same old, then I think they would have attracted an audience again and got the same people who like these movies, but would have gotten other people to be like, okay, what? Huh? They're doing something different here. I'm kind of curious about it. And make it PG-13. That's another thing that I think was missing. A little bit of that edge, a little bit of that raunchiness that the first film had. Uh, just be, in essence, a little bit more of a throwback to the first film instead of this family friendly, homogenized product, which Police Academy had become at this point. I mean, it had a cartoon, and I guess because, oh, it has a cartoon for kids, we need to be for kids. No, like Police Academy didn't start out that way. So it would have made sense if they were going to try to go for broke here, to go back to the roots of the first film. And who knows, maybe if the script was better, maybe Steve Guttenberg would actually be willing to come back. Because I think that's a big reason why he didn't return, because he saw the writing on the wall. He saw what was happening with these scripts and wasn't really into it that much, didn't really care. But that's just me. I just think there was a prime opportunity to really do something fun and different with this installment in particular, and they just let it pass by in favor of playing it safe. Now the cast, it's fine. I mean, Matt McCoy is back as Nick. He's a little bit better here because he's not asked to be Steve Guttenberg. He's able to just be his own kind of character. Michael Winslow, David Graf, Bubba Smith, Marion Ramsey, Leslie Easterbrook, George Gaynes, G.W. Bailey, Lance Kinsey, and Bruce Mahler. They all return, and they're still very game. They still have that charm and that charisma, but once again, there's just that lack of a central figure to really tie everyone together and to really make the whole crew into a much more cohesive and formidable comedic unit. But like I said, you could make up for that with a whole new cast of faces, as well as a whole new crew of criminal misfits. And so if you have that going on, then now the original cast doesn't have to carry the film anymore. They don't have to do the heavy lifting. And I think at this point, they really aren't capable of it. I don't think they showed that they could do that with the fifth film. So just make it easier on them. But instead, they make it harder, and as a result, like there's a lot of moments that just fall flat and just aren't really that funny. And it's not necessarily because of the cast or the performers; it's more due to other factors. The other cast, Kenneth Mars as the mayor, who plays the mastermind, Mr. Big. Didn't care for that performance. Gerrit Graham, I liked a lot as Ace, the leader of the gang, but everyone else was just really not much of anything. I mean, Brian Seaman is Darwin Swalve. I mean, Brian Seaman is Flash. Sorry, Darwin Swalve is Ox. Sippy Whitten is MG. Um, you have like Tackleberry's son in a little role. Billy Bird returns as Mrs. Stanwyck, which was kind of fun to see her again. Allison Mack has, I think this is like her first role as just a little girl in one scene. I think she was on the bus. Charlie Adler voices the mastermind, and that's really about it for the cast. So it's not really like it's the best cast either. Like the cast is fine, but it's not particularly strong outside of the main players and Gerrit Graham. And technically, it's just as average as everything else. The cinematography by Charles Rosser Jr. and the editing by Hubert C. de la Bouille. And the music by Robert Folk, once again, just feels like another day at the office. Is another element of the film that just feels played out. So, thankfully, though, it wasn't that long. It was like 84 minutes, so it wasn't like it was an hour and 40 something minutes or anything. But I think if you made the script better, you'd at least consider the concepts or something along the lines of the idea that I was discussing earlier. Then you could have it be a little bit longer, so you can have a little bit more room to showcase this wider array of characters. And I think it could have been a good send off. I think it could have been a good finale. Because for me personally, that's what I would have preferred, is that it's a finale. It's a passing the torch kind of film, but it's also a finale. It's the last hurrah for the original cast and for George Gaynes and the last police academy, and to send the audience home happy with a smile on their face. Maybe with one last trip to the Blue Oyster Bar. And it's just one of those movies that it really does just seem like a missed opportunity, and they should have stopped after 5 if they were just going to do the same old kind of stuff. But they especially should have stopped after 6. And I don't know why they did another one, but they did. And as lame and as forgettable as 5 and 6 are, they got nothing on 7. They got nothing on Mission to Moscow. These movies, they're not great, but they're kind of watchable at times. Cannot say the same for Mission to Moscow. But anyway, thanks for watching my thoughts on Police Academy 6, City Under Siege. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.